Welcome to Kids Celebration. Even though in our nation stuff is all shut down, so you're watching this at home. Welcome to Kids Celebration. Even though in our nation stuff is all shut down, so you're watching this at home on YouTube.
Hi everyone, I'm Caitlin. I'm interning with High Point Church and I'm going to be working with the children's ministry a lot of my time here the next year. So I'm excited to meet all of you and get to know all of you. So today we're going to be learning about a story where Jesus clears the temple of everything unclean. So as we talk about this story that we see in the Bible about Jesus clearing the temple and cleaning of it, of everything that's unclean, we are going to be talking about the things in us that we need Jesus to clean. As God cleans us, more of us are able to glorify Him. So our truth pillar this week is worship. So Jesus is going to tell all of these people that the temple, His Father's house, was meant for worship. So the truth pillar is worship. All of my story is all for His glory. All right, I am going to pray for all of you and then I'm going to send you off to worship. Dear God, thank you for these children. Thank you for your desire to know them personally and for them to know you as their Father. I pray that as we learn about this story of Jesus clearing the temple and cleaning of everything that's impure, I pray that we can all look at our lives and see what we need Jesus to clean in our lives. I pray that as these children go to worship, I pray that they remember this truth pillar about all of our story is all for your glory. I pray all these things in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, head off to worship.
In little Bethlehem, on that starry night, Mary held a child born in David's line. Angels told her he would be the Son of the Most High, and he'd sit on David's throne. They named the baby Jesus, as the angel said. Herod tried to kill him, but by his parents he was hid. Matthew, Mark, and Luke, and John all tell of what he did after he grew up and left his parents' home. At the age of 30 years, he was baptized and would hear a voice from heaven say, "You are my son." The king had finally come. Oh, the king had finally come, finally come, finally come. That king was God's own son. Oh, that king was God's own son, his only son, his only son. Jesus started ministry, he did it for 3 years. Opened blinded eyes, put sound back in deaf ears. Gave endless bread to all, caused the demons to fear. Israel's leaders hated him, said he's not the one. So dripping human sweat and crying human tears, he was nailed to a cross while they laughed and jeered. They didn't know his blood atoned for the sin of all the years. When he cried out, "It is done." But death could never hold him down. An angel came and shook the ground. An empty tomb was all that his friends found. The king had finally come. The king had finally come, finally come, finally come. That king was God's own son. That king was God's own son, his only son, his only son. Another brand new start with his spirit now at hand. All their big problems, big problems now could end. Yes, yes, Israel, you got some hope now, Israel. Things are no longer one big fail. Another birth of a nation, a time of great consummation. The flickering flame of redemption now risen in Israel. And Abraham's children in more could shine with God's light.
Jesus did a whole bunch of stuff. He kind of connects everything together.
Yes.
Jesus was connected all the way back to David. So he was a king that God had promised like hundreds of years before.
Yes.
Wait, I totally get this. The Israelites had to sacrifice an animal whenever they sinned. Jesus dying was kind of like a sacrifice too.
Yes.
Instead of an animal dying, he died so that the Israelites wouldn't have to sacrifice anymore. He was the final sacrifice.
Yes. RJ, you totally get it.
Wow, and he proved he was good by all the miracles he did. Ruth, does Jesus still do miracles?
I think so.
My mom sure needs a miracle. Ruth, if I become a Christian, will God make sure my mom is okay?
I don't know, but God wants you to become a Christian, not just so your mom gets better. He loves you. Just like Jesus was Israel's king, Jesus is our king too. And when he died on the cross, he died for me. But he also died for you, so that your sins could be forgiven.
What will it cost me to follow him?
Every idol you've ever held on to. But you get so much life in return.
RJ, time for dinner.
Meet me for ice cream tomorrow. I'll tell you more about it then.
Whether you eat or drink or whatever you do, do it all for the glory of God. 1 Corinthians 10:31. Whether you eat or drink or whatever you do it all for the glory of God. 1 Corinthians 10:31. To worship our God is more than a song. It's more than a day. So we all sing along. All of my story is all for his glory. All of my story is all for his glory. Every day, every way. All of my story is all for his glory. Whether you eat or drink or whatever you do it all for the glory of God. 1 Corinthians 10:31. To worship our God is more than a song. It's more than a day. So we all sing along. All of my story is all for his glory. All of my story is all for his glory. Every day, every way. All of my story is all for his glory. All of my story is all for his glory. All of my story is all for his glory. Every day, every way. All of my story is all for his glory.
Welcome back from worship. You're probably wondering, why do I have all of these cleaning supplies? A broom, some dust rags, a Swiffer. What are all of these things used for? We use them when we clean the house, don't we? Do you ever help your mom and dad clean up around the house? Raise your hand if you do. Ooh, I love to help my mom and dad clean. Ugh, I don't like cleaning. I help clean up my room when I play with my toys. Does that count? I don't know about your parents, But there were many times when my parents asked me to help clean, and I looked at the house, and I thought it looked fine. Well, how do you know when it's time to clean the house? Well, here are some here are some signs that should definitely let you know that it's time to clean your house. It's time to clean the house when your feet stick to the floor when you walk through the kitchen. It's probably time to clean your room if when your mom comes in to wake you up in the morning, she can't find you. Time to clean the house when there's more dishes in your sink than there are in your cabinet. And it's time to clean your house when you have enough dust bunnies to make a dust bunny farm. I think you get the idea. I know your house never gets that dirty, but the truth is, we all need to do a little house cleaning from time to time. You know, here's something to think about. How would you feel if somebody came into your house, maybe even your bedroom, and made a huge mess and didn't even clean it up? Today, we are going to be talking about a time in Jesus' ministry where he did some cleaning of his own. Our truth pillar today is worship. All of my story is all for his glory. Now let's say that together a few times in a few different voices. First, let's say it in your best mom voice. 3, 2, 1, go. All of my story is all for his glory. Now, I know you guys never whine, but for fun, let's do it in a whiny kid's voice. 3, 2, 1, go. All of my story is all for his glory. Well, that was pretty silly. Next, let's say it in a singy song voice. 3, 2, 1, go. All of my story is all for his glory. Now, the temple was a very special place to Jesus. It was this special building in Jerusalem where people came to worship. In this building, people made animal sacrifices so that God would cover their sins and forgive them. It was a very special place for God to meet with his people. In 1 Kings 9:3, when the temple was built, God said, "My eyes and my heart will always be there." Jesus called the temple his Father's house. Jesus was even brought to the temple as a baby. Mary and Joseph, Jesus' mom and dad, brought him there each year to worship. In fact, when he was 12 years old, he was actually left at the temple. Jesus was very familiar with the temple, and it was a very special place for him. Now that Jesus was grown up, he was going to enter the temple again. But this time, when Jesus entered the temple, he would become very angry at what he saw. Jesus, his family, his disciples, all went to Jerusalem to celebrate the Passover feast. If you don't remember what the Passover is or don't know, the Passover feast is in celebration of looking back at when God freed his people from Egypt. It's to remember the night where God was going to send a plague on Egypt to kill all of the babies. But God made a way for these families and their babies to be saved. God said that if these families would sacrifice a lamb and put the blood of the lamb on their doorway, the angel of death would pass over them and they would be saved. So that is why Jesus and his family and the disciples were coming to Jerusalem to celebrate that amazing holiday. Many people traveled a very long way to come to the temple, and the temple was very crowded. Not only were there a lot of people in the temple, but there were also a lot of animals. Animals in the temple? Why would that be? Why do you think there were animals in the temple? I don't know. Maybe there was a petting zoo. Maybe there was a farm nearby and the animals got loose. Ooh, I know. There were animals in the temple because they made sacrifices. Oh, I think I heard it. Animals were in the temple because God's people made animal sacrifices for the forgiveness of their sins. Jesus, his family, and his disciples all went to Jerusalem to celebrate the Jewish Passover feast. Since most people traveled a really long way to come to the temple, it was hard for them to bring their own animals to sacrifice. So there were actually lambs and doves for sale at the temple. Years before this, these animals were sold farther away from the temple, so not in the temple. And in years past, these animals were sold at a good, convenient price for these tired travelers. But now, when these travelers would bring their own animals from home, the religious leaders would tell them that their animals weren't good enough to sacrifice. So the people were forced to buy another animal. And the animal sellers actually charged a really high price. And conveniently, these sellers moved their business to the only part of the temple where Gentiles could come to pray. These people were being ripped off. The temple looked like a marketplace, not a place of worship. Not only were animals being sold, but money was being exchanged. The religious leaders claimed that the Roman coins made God unhappy because they had Caesar's face on it, and Caesar claimed to be God. So they told the people that they had to buy special temple coins to be put in the offering. The leaders overcharged these people for these coins so they could become rich. Does this sound right to you? No! Let's read Mark 11:15 through 17 together. On reaching Jerusalem, Jesus entered the temple area and began driving out those who were buying and selling there. He overturned the tables of the money changers and the benches of those selling doves, and would not allow anyone to carry merchandise through the temple courts. And as he taught them, he said, "Is it not written, 'My house will be called a house of prayer for all nations,' but you have made it a den of robbers." The Pharisees saw what Jesus did and heard what he said, and it made them very angry. They wanted to know who in the world he thought he was.
Who in the world do you think you are?
It's like if you were at school and you cut in line in front of somebody and another kid came along and said, "You have to stay after school for that." You might say to him, "Who are you to say that I have to stay after school? You're just a kid." That's exactly how the Pharisees felt. They wanted to know why Jesus thought that he had the authority to clear out the temple. Truthfully, it was the Pharisees' job to do this. They should have been the ones that were making sure that the temple was being treated right. Then the Jews asked him, "What miraculous sign can you show that you have the authority to do all of this?" Jesus gave them a very strange answer. "I will destroy this temple and raise it up again in 3 days." The Jewish leaders said to him, "This temple has been under construction for 46 years, and you're going to raise it up in 3 days?" But Jesus wasn't talking about the temple that they were standing in. He was talking about the temple of his own body. Jesus declared that the temple would be destroyed and that it would be rebuilt in 3 days. The Jews were thinking of the temple of stone, but Jesus was referring to the temple of his body. The Pharisees demanded a sign. And you know what? Jesus did not show them a sign right then and there. But instead, he was referring to the ultimate sign that was to come. In less than a week, God would raise him from the dead. That would certainly prove that he had God's authority. And guess what? The Pharisees did not understand what Jesus was talking about. And after Jesus cleaned out the temple, he began to teach the people that did listen to him. He healed illnesses. Children just like you praised his name. But the chief priests and the Pharisees became more and more angry. They were afraid and jealous of Jesus because of how many people were amazed at Jesus' teachings. People were following Jesus instead of the Pharisees. And when evening came, Jesus left the city. Boys and girls, I want you to realize that this story applies to your life. It applies more than you could ever imagine. As we think about Jesus cleaning the temple, we should be reminded that there's other cleaning that needs to be done. Now, we don't have a temple building today. We do have a building that's called a church, but get this, you and I are the church. The Bible tells us that we are the temple of God, and God's Spirit lives in us. 1 Corinthians 3:16 says, "Don't you know that you yourselves are God's temple, and that God's Spirit lives in you?" Anyone who trusts in Jesus is God's temple because God's Spirit lives within them. Did you know that your body became a temple when you put your trust in Jesus? So how should we treat the temple? How did Jesus treat the temple? He made sure that it was cleaned out of everything that was impure. We should do the same. 1 Corinthians 6:20 says, "You were bought at a price. Therefore, honor God with your body." Christ has paid the price for you. So do what honors him with your bodies. Do not use your body to sin. Guard your eyes, what you choose to see. Can you blink your eyes for me? Guard your ears, what you choose to listen to. Can you wiggle your ears for me? Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Control your feet and hands, where you choose to go and what you choose to do. Can you wiggle your feet and your hands at the same time? I can. Wow, good job. 2 Corinthians 7:1 says, "Since we have these promises, dear friends, let us purify ourselves from everything that contaminates body and spirit, perfecting holiness out of reverence for God." Let us be completely holy. We want to honor God. Our truth pillar says, "All of my story is all for his glory." Are there some areas in your life that you need to do some house cleaning? I know there is in mine. Thanks for joining me for Kids Celebration today. I am going to pray for you guys and send you back to worship. Let's pray. Father, help us to remember that you have made our bodies your temple and that your Spirit lives in us. Help us to clean out our lives of things that are not glorifying to you, and help us to use our bodies to serve you so that all of our story will bring glory to you. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. Awesome, guys. Head back to worship.